Well, good morning. I was going to say Good Friday or Saturday or Thursday or Sunday. Usually it's a race day morning, but that is not the case. It is Wednesday morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jason Portwando, obviously doing so from inside the Woodbine simulcast studio. No live racing today, but we have a very important forum to discuss with you. It is Stronger Together. Once again, getting together for the first time in a while, actually physically. But we are socially distanced, and that is the key as we continue to unite Ontario horse racing for that sustainable future. Now, today's presentation, a little bit different. It's actually a two-parter. We're going to have the panel. We'll get to the distinguished guests in a second, but we should mention the back half of that, I'll be joined by the racing secretary, Scott Lane, and we're going to draw the 8-horse field for this Saturday's running of the Rico Woodbine Mile. And just like in all 2020 fashion, it's all coming at you pretty hot and heavy. You go back to a couple weeks ago, we had the 146th running of the Kentucky Derby. Just a few days ago, it feels like just yesterday actually, for the 161st edition of the Queen's Plate. We talked about the drama going in. Well, even more drama coming out with Lawrence Cordes, Mighty Heart. We all know about the one-eyed wonder right now, and one eye, yes, but one huge heart. Wins as number 13 at 13-1. Josie Carroll gets that third Queen's Plate, just not with the horse that many of us expected it to be. And then how about Belichick as well, the maiden finishing in second and Clayton rounding out the top three. Huge thanks to our fans. It just was not the same without you here on track, and that is, one of the beauties of our Queen's Plate is the pageantry and the people. But we thank you for that support, because even though you weren't here, you still were here. The third largest handle in the history of the Queen's Plate, and that's really saying something, just because, once again, you couldn't be here with us on track. So you're joining us via different forums once again today, whether it be woodbine.com, HBI TV Canada. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. I want to say over the next 90 minutes or so, we've got a lot of ground to cover, and it's not just about me, as you would expect. We talked about the panelists. Let's now bring in the others that are joining us here. He's been the one constant for all of these panels, our CEO of Woodbine Entertainment, Jim Lawson, joining us. But we got some newcomers for the first time to this panel, as we say good morning as well to Kevin Attard, as well as Mark Cassidy. All three of you guys, thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you. Great to be on.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
All right. The beauty of social media, we can all get together even though we are actually staying apart. And Kevin and Mark, by the way, once we're done with this portion of the panel, we ask that you please stick around, because obviously you guys very important when it comes to this draw coming up for Saturday's 24th edition of the Rico Woodbine Mile. I know before the end of the day I'm going to say Eureka Woodbine Mile just because of what took place last year. Mark Cassidy scheduled to saddle 3 horses, March to the Arch, Olympic runner, and of course we get to see the big guy in the flesh for the first time ever, War of Will, of course his claim to fame being the Preakness winner. Kevin Attard will send out the Canadian reigning champion when it comes to Horse of the Year in Starship Jubilee. But first things first, let's get down to business. And Jim, I'm going to begin with you. And I want to say it was about nearly 6 months ago. We got the shutdown. We were in full pandemic mode, and there was a lot of questions as to whether or not we would even get to the Queen's Plate. As we know now, we got to that point. We have now passed that point. It wasn't that final Saturday in June. Let me get this right. It was actually the second Saturday in September. The point is, though, Jim, we got there, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, we certainly did. We just the sea of uncertainty that we at Woodbine and really across society we were living in. We all had a lot more questions than answers, and even today as we sit here, there's still so much uncertainty in the world as to where it was headed. So we took it slow. I think the trainers on the line will attest to the fact that there were a lot of uncertainty about training at Woodbine and the lack of workouts and how we were doing things. But to this day, I think we have taken the patient, prudent course. We've kept everyone safe. It did take a lot of patience from the horse community to at least, even if they didn't agree, at least be patient enough to understand that we were trying and we were doing our best under difficult circumstances. we committed very early on, Jason. I did, stuck my neck out and said, we will be running a Queen's Plate. I'm not so sure how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it. And when we started to look at our state schedule, likely in late in May, when we hoped that we could get going again, we planned the Queen's Plate for September, primarily to give the horses a chance to get ready because, as the plate field indicated, a number of them were not winter raced, and we needed to get the prep races in time. And then the second thought at the time was, hey, wouldn't it be a shame if you had a horse in the Queen's Plate for the first time and you couldn't attend? So Lawrence Cordes is probably a good example of that, and he's probably thrilled, not only for winning the race, but for him being able to attend that day, and the joy that it brought Lawrence and his family is a memory that he'll cherish, and I think we'll all cherish. And so we did the right thing, and we did the right thing largely, as I said, with the help of the frontline workers, the Woodbine staff, and in particular, the entire horse community who went into that backstretch every day, kept the horses healthy, and everyone working back there healthy, and that's how we got there, and we were thrilled to get to the Queen's Plate last weekend.
You were very adamant saying we will have a Queen's Plate, and you're right, the longest continuously run stakes event in North America. That tradition continues, and yeah, what a race it was, and what a story. Siobhan, the groom, and just goes right on down the list. Congratulations to everybody. Kevin, let's talk with you next. Obviously, you had a pair of horses in the race. You were one of many trainers that's based here at Woodbine that spent, time south of the border. You were at Gulfstream Park. Maybe just take us through what things were like for you from the training perspective, from being there, being back home, quarantining with the rest of your crew before you could finally get things going here at Woodbine.
Yeah, obviously, when we shipped out of Gulfstream, everything was just kind of starting to come together with COVID and restrictions being put in place, and all the Florida horses arrived here at Woodbine, and then with COVID hitting and the no workout policy at Woodbine, it was a little frustrating, obviously, and with no timetable set, owners start to kind of panic and wonder when or if we're going to have a meet, and horses are here at training. Only doing so much because of the no workout policy in the beginning. So there was a lot of uncertainty, obviously. A lot of questions, sometimes no answers. But when it's all said and done, everybody did a great job. We got the meet rolling. We ran the Queen's Plate, as we mentioned, and we're all here sitting and talking about it today.
Yeah, a lot of scrambling. Everybody did their part. Management, the horsemen, just a collective effort. And June the 27th turned eventually into September the 12th. Still working my head around those dates. Mark, what about you? Obviously, you're still in the United States, and we saw some racetracks actually make it through. Gulfstream still had its meet. Arkansas had its meet. We got some other smaller tracks getting the spotlight, like a Will Rogers Downs, Fairmont, a Fauna Park. But maybe just take us through your approach and what all of this did in terms of your planning for 2020 with your outfit.
There was just so much uncertainty. It was tough. We're racing at different places, but it was nice that Gulfstream did what they did to at least keep running some. And I'm proud of our sport. I'm proud of Woodbine. I'm proud of our sport in that, there's not a lot of sports that aren't going right now. And so we're one of the lucky ones. And obviously 2020 has been just like no other. And hopefully it gets over soon and we can move on to 2021 and get back to our regular lives.
Yeah, Jason, just one thing I'd like to add to that is one of the big frustrations, and I heard it in Kevin's voice, and I hear it from a lot of people today, is that one thing that for those that spoke to me, I got more letters than I did people speaking to me directly, but we're living in a very different regime in Ontario. We were then and we are now. Back then, we were very fortunate just to be characterized as an essential service in the province. And the basis on which we were an essential service is that these horses needed care, they needed exercise. And in terms of what kind of operations that we could hold on the backstretch, and I think this was important for people to understand at the time, we would have lost complete credibility with the government people that I was talking to if word got out that we were running horse racing operations. So the idea of starting gates and race personnel and timing workouts, that went well beyond essential care as we had discussed with the government. And so there weren't many people that, those who I had the direct discussion with, Jason, they understood that. We were walking a very fine line. And we gained a lot of credibility with the government in terms of including horse racing care, including exercise. So that was the basis on which we even got the horses out onto the racetrack. And so people, I don't think appreciated, especially people who had been in the United States and people with US interest, of the tight regime that we were operating under at Woodbine to allow us to even do what we were doing and bringing 500 or 600 people into the backstretch every day. Fast forward to today, Jason, we're still living under a difficult regime. I was asked yesterday on a US radio show why we haven't brought fans back the way that other racetracks have and what are our plans. And to this day, we're allowed 100 people or 50 people in our building, and I expect even today Premier Ford may come forward and tighten those restrictions. So it's been a different environment that we've been operating in at Woodbine, and thankfully we've been able to run live racing, which was our goal all the way along, and we've made some sacrifices, and people have had to make sacrifices, but people who have understood the regime and the restrictions and the protocols that we've had to live under, that we worked very hard with government to develop, will understand the reasons that we have proceeded the way we have. And I think that's important for people to appreciate.
I'm going to piggyback off what Mark was saying there in terms of, the strict protocols and the fact that we're racing. I know we don't have fans, but, here in Canada, horse racing was the first live sport to take place post-pandemic, or at least once we were allowed to get back into business, so to speak. But by the way, I love these forums because it gives us that open dialogue in terms of the horsemen and obviously management, Jim. But like any relationship, the questions never stop coming. You get together. When are you guys getting married? You have a kid. When are you having the next kid? It just keeps on going and going. So we're back racing, just to put it in layman's terms here, Jim. We're back racing, but people now want to know, what is the position like for us moving forward? What are we going to look like, moving ahead?
Aimed at me, Jason?
Aimed at you. Okay. You go first. You bat lead off.
Well, I think we do have the benefit of a great relationship with the provincial government. They appreciate the economic impact that this industry has on the underlying rural economy and the number of people that are employed. Woodbine Entertainment directly or indirectly employs 15,000 people, and generally speaking, in the province there are 20 to 25,000 people involved in this industry. And so looking forward, I think we have a strong foundation. What we've seen during this period, in addition to being able to maintain our purses, which I know the horsemen are completely appreciative of, we have been able to maintain our wagering, and that is some foresight on Woodbine in the sense that we have built a strong wagering technology group, an innovation group, that has come forward. We have what I think is one of the leading products in the world with our HPI service. It's intuitive, it's practical, it's robust, and it works well. Dark Horse has come along, and it's just a indication as we look forward that we are on very strong grounds in terms of our relationship under the funding agreement, our strengths that we've built in terms of management and operating in this type of environment. I think we look very good for the future. Our brand has grown significantly. Our harness racing brand in particular in the last couple of years, I think has taken off to a point where we can be quite proud of saying that we're the #1 destination in North America for harness racing. And others will argue with that, but that's where we're headed, and we say that because we believe it. And on the thoroughbred side, we're strong. We're strong with our funding. We're working at generating alternative sources of revenue in terms of our real estate development, our dark horse technology. We're looking at new relationships with sports wagering coming in and seeing how we can generate additional sources of revenue, and we have the team to do it. And we've got a lot of credibility at different levels of government to achieve all those things. So I'm very confident that racing is in a good place in Ontario, and that Woodbine Entertainment is strong, and that we will continue to get strong. And this period of COVID has shown, particularly with our strength in technology and innovation, how we can survive and how we have a bright future as the world potentially shrinks in horse racing in North America, and we've seen that, and consolidates. We are growing by leaps and bounds in different countries. We had large pools in Turkey and Sweden this weekend on the Queen's Plate. I was on the phone this morning with the people from Hong Kong, talking further about commingling pools and making them more direct. And we have a great relationship in Australia with Tabcorp. And that's the future of this sport. We are expanding our footprint and growing our brand internationally. And I'm very comfortable with where we're headed, Jason.
Kevin, Mark, going to ask you guys the exact same question, because you're also answering questions, whether it be from your hot walkers, your grooms, your exercise riders, your assistants, your owners. Kevin, you go first. Just your position on how do you think horse racing looks moving forward?
Been given a good opportunity. Like you mentioned earlier, we were one of the first sports to kind of get back at it. So, at one point we were the only game in town. We had an opportunity to kind of, get to maybe a new audience that, normally wouldn't watch horse racing. When you're locked in your home and there's not much to do, it was a good opportunity. We had TSN Thursday nights that I think, it was a big hit. I know, for my own family, if they enjoyed watching it, and just the insights of the news reporters there, obviously bringing things that you wouldn't normally see if you were at the racetrack. Obviously, with technology now today and the opportunity to do this online wagering, I think that's proven how tremendous of an impact it can have. I was a little skeptical even in Florida that wagering might have kind of taken a big hit, but it surprised me that it actually flourished, really. So I think there's an opportunity here. We've had a good opportunity to show people how great our sport is, and how entertaining it can be. And I think Woodbine's obviously done a good job. They have a lot of things seem like in the pipelines to kind of continue to kind of go forward and develop.
Mark, same question.
I think Woodbine, they're always cutting edge. They're always trying to be better. I have a saying, if you stand still, you get run over. I don't think you'll ever hear that about Jim Lawson and Woodbine. They're always trying to be better. I feel more comfortable where they're going than some of other racetracks in North America. But for all in all, as Kevin and Jim said, this is our time to shine, and we have to do the best we can to continue to shine. And I think it'll just get stronger and stronger. And I'm proud of our industry. I'm proud of Woodbine and Toronto, and we just got to keep going forward. There's always things that can get better, and we have to continue to try to be better. And I don't know that there's any racetrack or in North America that is any better than Woodbine. Churchill Downs is always cutting edge as well. But it's nice to hear, that our footprint is it's not just in North America, it's all over the world. And I agree, that's important. That's important. We have a good product. We have a beautiful racetrack. Let's show it off to everyone. and that's what they're doing.
Those of you just tuning in, you're watching Stronger Together as we try to, unite and have that sustainable future for racing in Ontario. Jason Portwando alongside Woodbine CEO Jim Lawson and trainers Mark Cassie, Kevin Attard. Guys, we can all agree, we've been in this sport for a very long time and got into it probably through our families. That's just the way it goes through the blood, and it continues to this day and will continue. As we look forward to the future, I mean, beyond when we are involved, others down the line, we probably can all agree that we need some new fans. We need new trainers. We need new owners. We just need to get some younger blood involved in this game. And, looking forward to doing some innovative things. Woodbine has already done some of this. We had the clockwise races a few years ago that we implemented on the harness side. Producer Luke Van Velkom, going to give him a bit of a shout out here. And his initiative of miking up the drivers. People love getting sort of that inside track. But Mark, let's begin with you. In terms of trying new things, just trying to get different people involved in our game. Are you a proponent of that? Are you more of a traditionalist? Which side do you
No, I'm all for doing new things and trying to make them better. There's a big push right now. I've been involved with the Jockey Club, the United States Jockey Club. There's been a lot of talk going on where maybe trying to have different class of races. We have a serious problem right now, Jason, and that is that we have a lot of horses that could be running that aren't running just simply because, in my opinion, we have too many categories. There's been talk about maybe doing away with claiming races, and instead of having claiming races, we have classes A, B, C, D, E, F, like that. And as you win, you go up in class. As you lose, you get to go down in class. And that ensures that if somebody goes out and, say for instance, somebody goes to the CTHS sale and buys a horse for $20,000, he knows that at some point in time, it may not be in the A class, it may not be in the B class, but this horse is going to be able to win. And he doesn't have to worry about, we just had a recent situation. We have the CTHS sales, and somebody went out and bought a horse and won a couple races and did the right thing. And next thing you know, the horse was claimed, and then it came back and won the stake. Does that help our industry? I don't think so. We have lots of people out there that would like to get into the business. I would like to see us maybe at Woodbine have an online site where you can actually buy horses. The horse goes up for sale, you'd say, because I mean, just myself, I know that, I have people like Gary Barber, John Oxley, Charlotte Weber, that, maybe they don't want necessarily the cheaper horse. You
Right.
put it up for sale and let somebody come and buy it. And if you knew that you could buy that horse and then find a place for it to win, I think that's important. And there's a lot of people out there that would like to buy horses that can't do it. They don't know, a claiming race, they don't get it. And you get somebody to buy a horse for $40,000 and you say, oh, you know what, this horse can't win, so now we're going to run it for $15,000 claiming, and it gets claimed, and now you've lost that owner because he doesn't understand, or he or she doesn't understand. So those are the kind of things we are shooting ourselves in the foot many times, and so there's a push, and I think you're going to see some big changes. The one thing I will say about Woodbine is and Jim Lawson, they have not been afraid to step out. I'm gonna upset a lot of my jockey friends, but I think what we did with the whip is a step in the right direction, and I wish more racetracks would do that. And what I can remember 25 years ago when I first came to Woodbine, they are already doing things nobody else was doing, and I was impressed. When I first came, when we were in Kentucky or New York, you could enter a horse and not name a rider, and you had to do it later on. Not in Canada, you had, and now it's, it's like everybody. Woodbine, Canada, has always been a leader, and I'm extremely proud of that. And I think we have to continue to show the way, and so there's a lot of things, like I said, I've been on a lot of panels. There's been a lot of talk, and without a doubt, we have to make some changes. And unfortunately, with all assets, there's some liabilities, and you're going to upset some people. There's a lot of people that don't like change.
Right.
But
Right.
just think about it. If we went our entire time in our world, if we didn't make change, we wouldn't have automobiles. We would, So yeah, you're going to upset people. We have to do things, and yeah, we're going to step on some toes, but we have to look at what's strong for our industry. And look, I'm getting to the point in my life where I don't know how much longer I want to be continuing to do this, but I do have two sons that do want to possibly, I have one son that's very involved in it. I have a daughter that is involved in it, and I have a younger son that very well could be involved in it. So we have to continue to have this business in this industry, continue to grow, and that means making changes.
Kevin, we'll let you go next, and this is a good one for you because I think of Melmich and obviously that Wonder Mare you got coming up on the weekend. Both you got via Acclaim. So what's your take in terms of what Mark was just talking about in terms of changing maybe the way they write these races?
Yeah, no doubt. I've obviously made a good career at acclaiming horses, and done well doing it. So, I'm not a fan of the class races. I think, to bring people into the sport, it's hard sometimes to go to the sale and buy a horse, and the chances of it making to the races at 2 are not that easy. So when you want to bring somebody to me, the way I look at it, when a client approaches me, it's easier to sell them on game, possibly claiming a horse, and maybe being back at the races in 3 weeks' time with an opportunity to kind of get some return on your investment. Now, like in any, obviously they have to understand that their animals are not machines. Sometimes the claims are going to be bad, and they are going to have to be, they're not worth what you paid for them. It's like buying a used car. You go to the car dealership, you buy a used car. Sometimes you're buying somebody else's problems. So to me, horses are very similar in the sense there's no warranty, there's no guarantee. You have to be prepared. You go to the sale, you can spend $300,000-$400,000 on a horse. Doesn't mean it's worth that at the end of the day. So when you run in classes, I think it opens the door for maybe corruption. As you win and you move up in class, that's fine. But when you stop, when horses aren't running well, then you begin to wonder, are people playing games? So when you set a claiming price on them, to me, there's no games played. You're running the horse at a value you think it's worth. If you want to take an edge, that's entirely up to you. All the power to you. Go ahead. There's a risk of losing the horse. If you're scared to lose them, run them for a tag. That's the bottom line.
Jim, your take now, maybe a hybrid of what Mark and Kevin are talking about. We see this at other racetracks in terms of their claiming races. They have those waiver claiming races. So we'll get you and now your take in terms of what they both have had to say, and maybe waiver claiming races here. Maybe that's a part of the future.
Yeah, listen, Kevin and Mark both make very good points. From my perspective, Mark is singing from the same song sheet as me in terms of change in this industry is necessary. How that manifests itself in terms of racing, I can say that we have a business transformation groups going on at Woodbine, and one in particular that I've sat in every session on is Blue Sky in terms of racing, and that's looking at employment issues and recruiting new people to work in the industry. Classification of racing, the problems with claiming races, the problems with not getting horses running enough. We have a certainly a field supply, a horse supply business, which affects our field sizes. And part of that is attracting horses to Woodbine. Part of it is over the longer term, getting more people and younger people interested in the business and how we do that. And so change is needed. And I feel a little bit like Mark. I'm at the end of my career. I'm not sure when that is, but I've got family involved in the business, and I love this business, and I want it to be sustained. And so my instructions to the business transformation people on the racing side at Woodbine is start from scratch and look at ideas and how we can attract new people and new owners to this business. And at Kevin's point, one is immediate entry to the business through claiming, but there are other ways to do that. And the flip side of that is people, when I talk to them, say, well, if I buy a horse, what do you mean I have to put it up for sale through claiming in order for it to run a race or win a race? And so there's good points on both sides of that, but I can tell you we are committed to change, and change is not easy in this industry. And the evidence of that is there isn't enough change in this industry, and I like to think of Woodbine as an entity that's prepared to step out and do different things and try different things. We won't always get it right, but this industry, in order to move forward and to be healthy, and I say healthy for generations, not just for 6 months and for next year, we have to be looking at things we can do, because we are standing still as an industry. Woodbine is one that I think can be a leader, not just in Canada, but through North America, as people look and see what we do and try different things, because I think it's important for this industry to be moving forward, and we will try different things. I can assure you of that. It's our mindset. It's the way people are wired here, and I look forward to helping to change this industry for the better.
Let's put on your steward's cap. Go ahead.
Well, I'd like to respond to Kevin first.
Okay.
I wasn't suggesting that everybody had to go out and buy yearlings or 2-year-olds at the sale. If there was such a deal where there were classes, and we could debate all day about corruption and things going on, but my suggestion, and I will tell you this, if all of North America were to adopt that kind of deal where there were classes and they had ways to put horses for sale online and where you could go and buy them, know that so for instance, say if you run in a C class and you run 3 times and you don't hit the board, you now get to drop down to the D class, where now you have a better shot of winning. Well, if you see a horse and he's online, he's for sale for $30,000, you say, look, Bob, we can buy this horse. He may not be able to compete at C. We'll run him a couple times. If he can't compete, at least we know he can win at D. At least you can win somewhere. And I'm going to tell you this. If all of North America were to adopt this deal, where there would be hundreds and hundreds of horses that would be for sale, and I'm not talking about $100,000. I'm talking about $10,000, $20,000. The Shadwells, the Darleys, those kind of, they would there'd be so many horses for sale. And you know what? Some people like Kevin's done a tremendous job of claiming horses and moving them up. That doesn't mean Kevin couldn't go and buy a horse from Darley that, he sees something that he likes about this horse. Hey, maybe he hasn't tried Tapeta. Maybe he hasn't tried turf. I'm going to buy this horse for $20,000, and he could have the next Starship do it. That doesn't mean that's not going to happen. The problem is, one, our horses, especially as we get down to the lower claiming races, these horses are being, each race is so important, and we're forgetting about the welfare of the horse. And so there's, like I said, I'm not going to go into it all. Okay. We could debate all day long, but I'm not at all suggesting that you got to go out and buy a yearling or a 2-year-old. I'm suggesting that you can go out and buy any kind of horse, and I think it'll be better for the horse. And we have horses that are sitting in the barns that can't run. There's nowhere to run them for months, and that's not good for anybody. It's not good for Woodbine. It's not good for the owners. It's not good for the trainers. We have to change something because it's not working.
Just a quick thing, just to piggyback off what you were just saying there, Mark. What happens if 10 guys want the same horse? How do you approach that in terms of this horse that's up for sale?
Well, I would suggest then if you put, say, all right, in 48 hours, this horse is for sale for $20,000. If there's 10 people that want to buy that horse, let them all come and look at them. And if somebody wants to give you 21,000 and nobody else does, then they win. That would be a good problem. Those are the kind of things, I can tell you I would have guys looking every day and saying, well, maybe we can buy this horse. This horse will do well at Woodbine. Let's buy him at Churchill and move him to Woodbine. Or, and Kevin could do the same thing. Or you might look right at Woodbine and say, hey, this horse they haven't tried the grass. I think this horse needs to run long, and you get to look at them.
Okay.
So what happens so many times in claiming races, horses, they do things just to get them to the races and hope somebody they get claimed. And that's a big problem. It's not as big. I will say this. I'm so proud of Woodbine and what they do. You don't see that like you see in other places. They've had some serious issues. Why do you think we have all these horses that break down all over the place? And they've been trying to make rules to stop this. My suggestion, one of the things that I think would help, if you don't run a horse for 3 or 4 months, you get to drop down a class. So then maybe you reward the owner and the trainer that goes out and gives his horse time when he needs time, instead of injecting an ankle or whatever, or doing some kind of treatment in the end that isn't making the horse better. He's just getting him through a race. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's the same principle of waiver claiming.
Yeah.
Though, right? Reward the person, the owner. That's the same principle behind waiver claiming. Reward the person that has put the horse away, given it the time to heal and mend and get back to the races healthy. So we're avoiding the breakdowns or the abuse, like you mentioned.
Yeah. Well, hey, I don't care how we get there, guys. As long as we get new owners, new breeders, new bettors involved, I'm all for it, and we'll see what the future has to hold. Let's move on. And here's another topic. I think we could spend all day talking about this one, especially me. Category 1 versus Category 2. And Mark, you're the perfect person to start with, because not all that long ago, War of Will, Triple Crown, we know what happened there. What's your take on Category 1 versus Category 2? I always mix the two of them up, but I'm pretty sure right now North America is Category 2. Category 1 is perhaps what the rest of the world is doing right now, where basically if you impede a horse that was going to beat you, then okay, you get set back. But if you impede a horse that had no chance of beating you, then they would just leave it alone. Which side do you sit on in terms of Category 1 and Category 2?
You know what, Jason? I know we have the categories, but whenever I watch,
right.
I don't know. I think they make their own categories. Stewards do. So I don't even know. I mean, I know we're talking about the Kentucky Derby, with War of Will.
Mm-hmm.
Did it? I mean, it's just hard to say, but I mean, that horse did such damage to the entire field. How do you not disqualify him? I mean, he nearly cost our horse his life. Mm-hmm. And who's to say? Who's to say? So I don't know. I do think that instead of categories, let's just use common sense. I think that's the best. Well, if it made a change and,
right.
and it was, it did affect the outcome of the race, then disqualify. I think you got to just use a little more common sense. So I don't know that I love one category over the other, to be honest.
Jim?
Yeah, listen, picking up what Mark said, I've spent a significant amount of time in the international forums talking about this issue. I would say if to pick up on Mark's comment, as I said, if you want to use more common sense, then what Category 1 allows the stewards to do is to apply common sense. And that's actually the big difference. In overall, you're going to get more prudent incomes, more reliability. There's going to be, as Mark suggests, there's going to be subjectivity, and there is today in any event, and you're never going to be able to overcome that. But sometimes the stewards' hands are tied, and they say, listen, that's the rules, we had to do it. And even though a horse can brush a horse as it goes on to win by 8 or 10 lengths, and the horse that brushes finishes dead last, and the stewards say, I had to put the horse dead last. That's what our rules say. And so I think what Category 1 does is leads to better outcomes. And in particular, I'm thinking of the wagers. It's much easier to understand. Our customers need to have confidence as to why these rulings are being made. There's a lack of transparency today. But in addition to that, the common sense rule that should prevail is Category 1. In addition to that, from a commercial standpoint, you heard me speak earlier of Woodbine growing internationally and relying on international pools. I can tell you from talking to the people in Hong Kong, speaking to the people in Europe, and stewards around the world, that they're all looking at North America and say, what are you guys doing? We're moving to commingled pools. Our wagers across the world want to wager on your product, and you're stuck in the mud on Category 2, and you really can't explain why, other than that's the way we've always done it. I've had this discussion with the AGCO. They're inclined to go to Category 1. They've been talking to stewards around the world. The AGCO has done their due diligence. I can tell you, as I said, I'm hoping and expecting a change. The AGCO is looking at whether it should apply to both standard breds and thoroughbreds, but they're definitely inclined, I feel, to do it for thoroughbreds. And I think it would be, from a commercial standpoint, the right thing to do to, once again, Woodbine and the AGCO in Ontario being leaders, much like we were with the urging rules. And I won't be surprised if we move that you'll see other jurisdictions in the United States follow behind us, because it makes a lot of sense from a commercial standpoint. So let's hope we can once again move forward with change that might be hard initially for people, particularly the people who are judging it, but I'm confident the AGCO has looked at this and appreciates that they can train their judges into Category 1 rulings, and I hope we get there for the betterment of the sport, and that includes our wagering community who would prefer Category 1 rules, Jason. So
overall, I would just love to see racing on the same stage. I mean, you shouldn't have to be, as a rider, going to one racetrack thinking, oh, I can't hit overhand. No, I got to hit underhand. No, I can hit 3 times, then I got to ride. I just wish we all had the same platform. And I'd love for the stewards to have a clock. I mean, sometimes nothing, is worse than waiting for 15 minutes for the stewards to make a decision. If you're waiting that long, then obviously you're just not sure. So maybe you just leave the call as it was and don't do anything. But that would be the beauty of it. Anyways, Kevin, what's your take?
No, I agree. I think, like Mark said earlier, common sense should prevail. We have to be mindful of the better. Obviously, if it wasn't going to impact the winner or the place horse, then it shouldn't affect the outcome of the race. Along with the better, obviously, the people that own the horse as well. I mean, they've invested the money, paid the training bills and such forth to kind of get the horses to the race. And obviously, you don't want to see them penalized for something that wasn't going to have an outcome on the race at all.
Yeah.
Jim, before we move away from innovation, obviously Woodbine's been one of the leaders in terms of that, trying new things, trying to get new people involved. We can't forget about the people that pay our paychecks, so to speak, the bettors, the wagers. We have Dark Horse as a brand new app that's trying to get younger people involved, new people involved in an easy way. What else can be done in terms of wagering? I mean, the numbers have been really great this year, all things considered. I'm sure you would agree, but it can always be better. So what are maybe some of the things that Woodbine Entertainment is working on?
Sure. Well, number one, we have to find ways to expand our footprint. And so we are working with the OLG. We'd like to be in sports books, and I'll come to that in a second. Potentially put the racing product, even under today's sports betting rules in this country, be part of Proline parlays in Ontario, potentially be part of the lottery product. There are ways to expand our footprint today, in addition to constantly, and I think our team does a good job of this, look at different types of innovative wagers and make it more appealing, quick picks and other things that will expand the innovation in terms of the actual product. But our distribution is important. One of the things that we've been working a lot on recently is fixed odds wagering on horse racing. It's certainly illegal, and it will go hand in hand with single game sports betting in Canada, and we want to ensure, and we think it's critically important, that the holders of pari-mutuel licenses like Woodbine also are the holders of licenses as it relates to fixed odds wagering on horse racing. In Australia, Jason, I think 60% of the wagering today is fixed odds wagering on horse racing, and I can't stress how important that is, that if and when, and I think it's a case of when, single game sports wagering comes to Canada, that Woodbine Entertainment plays a major role in fixed odds wagering. To do otherwise would destroy this industry. If you could imagine that the beneficiaries of the wagering revenue are a party somewhat other than an entity like ours who pays the purses, who pays the operating costs, who does everything, but doesn't get the revenue from it, you can imagine the result if 60% of our wagering turned to fixed odds wagering and that went to a third party beneficiary. It would destroy the horse racing game in the country. So we are working on that. At the same time, it's a way to expand it. I think if we have fixed odds wagering, you're going to see some conventional sports bettors come into the horse racing world and use fixed odds wagering. A lot of them don't like pari-mutuel wagering. If they're going to bet a lot of money, they don't like seeing the odds go from 4-1 or 5-1 to 4-5 when the gate opens if they've bet $10,000 or $20,000 to win on a horse and say, oh, wait a second, I thought I was getting 4-1. I can't take the risk that those odds are going to go to 3-5. And part of that has to do, of course, with the size of the pools. But if we can increase the size of our pools and do it through bringing in sports wagering people, once sports wagering is legal in Canada, that's going to be a big win for this industry. So let's hope, Jason, that we can do all these things. And we've got a good team here that are sensitive to improving the product, being innovative, expanding our footprint through technology, and let's hope that we can generate additional sources of revenue for the benefit of everyone.
Mark, anything to add there?
No, I mean, as Jim says, we just have to continue to try to be better, and it's their work. It sounds to me like they're constantly trying to do that, and I commend them for that.
Kev?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like Jim said, you have to be innovative, and I know customers get angry when, like Jim mentioned, when the horses are loading in the gate and they go even from 3-1 just to 5-2. It's a big hit, and they don't like to see that, and we obviously have to look after them and keep them in mind. And if we can get fixed sports wagering here, a big benefit to us all.
Happens to me on a daily basis. Happens on a daily. I'm so hoping that the day comes we can just bet racing on Proline. Just go to the store and bet a quick pick and bet some exactas. Anyways. Obviously, we got the draw coming up, guys. Before we move on to that, I know we could talk about this the entire day if we could, but just a favorite memory, perhaps. I know the race has been around for only 23 years. I say only because you look at the Queen's played 161 years. But Jim, we'll start with you. Is there a favorite memory that you've had in terms of the Addo Mile, the Woodbine Mile, Rico Woodbine Mile, whatever you want to name it?
Well, Mark may not share this, but I can tell you the 2 successive years for me of Wise Dan really stick out for me. The connections with Charlie Lopresti and Mr. Frank and his wife coming up, and they were so proud of that horse, and just the performance that Wise Dan put on 2 years in a row. I will always be thankful for having the opportunity to spend time with those connections and watch what was a magnificent racehorse in Wise Dan do it 2 years in a row. And I've got a big photage in my office of Wise Dan and the ownership group because it really meant a lot to us. And I think it gave Woodbine Entertainment quite some prominence, because Wise Dan was obviously a very popular horse in North America at the time, and it helped our growth at the time to be able to host Wise Dan 2 years in a row in that race. So it was special for me.
Pretty sure he's the only one. I'm going back. I started in '88 this race. I'm pretty sure he's the only one to win back-to-back. Kevin, favorite memory for you, or you're hoping, I guess, to have a new one coming up on the weekend, right?
That would be really nice, that's for sure. I'm going to be a little sentimental, and I'm going to say 2001 numerous times with my Uncle Sid. He campaigned that horse magnificently that year. He was really gritty. It was a hard-fought battle there, and a blanket finish. It was, pretty exciting. And I happened to also win my first graded stake race on that card as well. So memorable year, memorable day, obviously. And, like you said, hopefully Saturday will be a different story.
Mark, I'm not right about everything, obviously, but I'm pretty sure I pegged your #1 moment when it comes to this race.
Well, do you want me to answer, or do you want to go?
You go ahead. I can still hear the crowd chanting. I'm getting goosebumps, not goosebumps, goosebumps, just thinking about it, because that was quite the sight that afternoon.
Were they chanting Pepin?
They were, yes.
Yeah. So that was a crazy day. Funny story. So we were, obviously the weather was bad. We were at the horse sale, and were invited by a couple to fly up on their private plane. And so my wife and I were set to go, and they came to us and said, look, there's a little issue. One pilot says he'll fly, and the other pilot says he won't. I said, well, if there's one pilot there that says he doesn't want to fly, I can tell you Mark and Tina Cassie don't want to fly either. So yeah, I don't do that. So we unfortunately weren't able to make it, and that was disappointing. But yeah, that one's pretty easy, Teppin.
Yeah, I think only to this day a couple of fillies have won. Ventura, I think, is the other one, if I'm not mistaken. So we're looking forward to adding, new memories, as talked about, coming up this weekend. Guys, it's been a lot of fun. Appreciate it. As talked about, Jim, you can hang around if you want, but we're going to get Kevin and Mark to do the same, obviously, just because we're looking forward to the draw for Saturday's big race. Appreciate those of you watching from all around the world, obviously virtually, for today's edition of Stronger Together. But as mentioned, we still have the draw to come, so stick around for that. We're looking forward to a huge weekend. A ton of Breeders' Cup implications in terms of the Woodbine Mile presented by Rico. We got the Summer and the Talma, obviously, both races win and you're in, as we're not that far away from the 1st November dates to talk about in terms of the weekend at Keeneland. Looking forward to that. TVG, extensive coverage of our races all weekend long, can also be seen on NBCSN, the NBC Sports Network, obviously talking about in the US, and in Canada on TSN. A reminder, keep it right where you got it. We're going to take a look at the competitors coming up as well for this Saturday's race. Now, a field of 8. Scott Lane, our racing secretary, will join us and we'll draw the field, so keep it right where you got it.
Championship Fall Turf Racing kicks off this weekend at Woodbine Racetrack in Toronto. The Grade 1 Rico Woodbine Mile takes center stage. A prime, super talented field of turf runners will go 1 mile over the acclaimed E.P. Taylor turf course, the longest stretch in North America. They'll duel for the better part of $1 million and a guaranteed berth to the Breeders' Cup World Championships at storied Keeneland Racecourse in Lexington, Kentucky. Looking to capture that golden ticket is Armistice Day. After tough negotiations in a February snowbird trip to Florida, the 2019 Toronto Cup Stakes winner returned to Woodbine, ultimately for 2 bookend starts in August. The latter, a waning chase for third on the outer turf, and his first start back in Canada, a clear drive for the victory on the main Tapeta track.
That Armistice Day in front. Armistice Day's got it won.
Admiralty Pier looks for an improved result in this year's edition of the Rico Woodbine Mile. The local chestnut recently finished second in back-to-back Grade 2 turf contests at Woodbine. His last win was in the Grade 3 Tampa Bay Stakes.
A 3-horse photo.
March to the Arch heads into battle at Woodbine in back-to-back starts for the first time since winning the 2018 edition of the aforementioned Toronto Cup Stakes for trainer Mark Casse. The 5-year-old Bay Traveler kicked off his 2020 campaign with a win in the Sunshine Millions turf at Gulfstream. 5 starts later up at Woodbine, it was a big win in the Grade 2 King Edward Stakes at the mile distance.
March to the Arches, grabbing Admiralty Pier in the final furlong, and really has come alive beautifully for Rafael Hernandez. Wins the King 80 by 2 lengths.
Olympic Runner has settled for the silver lining in back-to-back starts against local super champ Pink Lloyd. Both valiant performances warranting a shot this Saturday for the second of 3 Mark Casse entrants. His last win was a stakes victory in the 2019 King Corey Stakes.
Here's Olympic Runner flying, has come from the clouds, and boy, was that a rush of a move.
Local eye catcher Cheryl Spite draws in. The Charles Fipke-owned up-and-comer provides added intrigue this Saturday, seeking his 3rd straight win in just the 3rd start of his career. Following a score in the Marine Stakes, an injury curtailed his Derby dreams. Now back on track, he'll look to emulate the first win of his career at Woodbine, a 7-furlong turf contest back on Independence Day.
Cheryl Spite in an absolute cakewalk, had never ever been troubled, and this is really in just what I consider second gear.
Starship Jubilee has been a revelation for the better part of 2 years. In celebration of her title as the 2019 Horse of the Year in Canada, the 7-year-old mare proceeded to reel off 4 straight stakes wins south of the border, including triumphs in the Grade 3 Swanee River Stakes and the Grade 2 Ballston Spa.
They come for the finish in the Ballston Spa, and it's going to be Starship Jubilee to win it by a head.
She returns to Woodbine for the first time since her brilliant win in last fall's E.P. Taylor Stakes.
Value proposition, Irad Ortiz Jr. does it again.
British-bred Value Proposition awaits his first post position north of the border, seeking the biggest profit of his young career. Boasting an admirable 3-for-5 lifetime on the New York circuit, the Chad Brown contender went unraced for nearly a year before returning to action with a nice win versus Allowance Company in early June and a steady 3rd last time out in the Grade 3 Poker Stakes. War of Will completes a common theme of journeys back to Toronto for the 2020 edition of the Rico Woodbine Mile. Mark Casse's 3rd challenger looms large. The 2019 Preakness champion arrives at the Woodbine Mile as not only a Triple Crown Classic winner on dirt, he's now a proven Grade 1 mile winner on turf. Perfect timing.
War of Will still second. Parlor War of Will, Raging Bull, late charge from Without Parole at the line. War of Will, maybe.
The field for the $1 million 24th running of the Rico Woodbine Mile.
All right, our thanks to Paul Savalaggio of the Woodbine Entertainment TV department for that piece and everybody who helped put it together. Here is a look at what you need to know. The box closed with a field of 8. It will go as race number 9 coming up on Saturday's program as documented, joined by our racing secretary, Scott Lane. Our thanks once again to CEO of Woodbine Entertainment, Jim Lawson. And there is a live look at Scott. You are on camera. Smile, my man. All right, so I'm going to put these in and we're going to get going here just at a random order. Once again, it goes as race number 9 and we have a field of 8. So I'll draw a name, Scott, and you let me know what post, please. First up, we have War of Will.
Number 8.
War of Will goes as number 8. And of course, Maker's Mark Mile champion, career high buyer of 100. The claim to fame for this guy, the Preakness winner. Mark Cassidy trying to give Gary Barber a second Woodbine Mile. Gary was a part owner of the 2006 champ, B. Crooks. War of Will gets post number 8. All right. Let's move on and get another one here for you. Next up, we have Admiralty Pier.
Number 6.
Number 6 for Admiralty Pier. And this year's Tampa Bay champ, second in his last 2 starts, and a horse that's in really good form right now for trainer Barb Minchell. Those seconds, by the way, in the King Edward and Connaught Cup. Barb Minchell, trainee, was 7th in last year's race. In fact, Admiralty Pier is the only horse that is back from 2019 when it comes to this race. We got odds as well. Producer Mike Sanford, is that what I'm seeing here? So 2-1 on War of Will. So our morning line odds maker, Ernie Perry, has already set some numbers for us. So 10-1 there on Admiralty Pier. All right, we continue to set the field for the 2020 Rico Woodbine Mile coming up on Saturday. Up next, Armistice Day.
Number 2.
Number 2 for Armistice Day. And Armistice Day is a horse that, you know, was last year's Toronto Cup winner. Obviously, trying to buck the odds here. He will be a bit of an outsider. Yeah, 20-1 there. Makes his Grade 1 debut for trainer Barb Minchell, trying to follow in the footsteps of Gail Cox as the only female trainer to win this race. Barb trying to do that, and moments ago, we talked about another female trained horse. That's Barb's got a couple of them in there, so we'll keep an eye on those two. All right, next up, I have Olympic Runner.
Number 5.
Number 5 for Olympic Runner, one of, yes, 3 in the field for Mark Cass. The Olympic Runner, you know, he's been chasing Pink Lloyd over the last pair on synthetics, so he'll be happy just not to see that guy coming up on the weekend. He's looking for his first turf win. What a spot this would be to do it. He was 4th in the Connaught Cup, and this will be his Grade 1 unveiling for Team Cassie. You recognize those Barber Silks. Olympic Runner gets post 5, 15-1 on the morning line. All right, a few more to select. Next up, I have the mare, the lone mare tackling the boys. Starship Jubilee, our reigning Canada Horse of the Year.
Number 4.
Number 4 for the mare. Starship Jubilee, we talked about her being the Horse of the Year. She's trying to beat the boys, and she's trying to represent for the girls and maybe join Tepin and Ventura as the only distaff winners of this race. There's a look at her on the board. Blue Haven Farms, Starship Jubilee gets post number 4, and she is at 4-1. All right, back inside the studio now. I'll grab the next one for you. We got March to the Arch.
Number 1.
Number 1 for March to the Arch, and this one comes in off that explosive victory right here on this course in the Grade 2 King Edward as he swept the field. That was impressive. Can he do it again? He's seeking that initial Grade 1 win. Now, Cassie, if he wins, he'll have 3, and that'll put him in some elite company with Neil Drysdale, Bobby Frankel, and Charlie Lepresti, of course. You think of Wise Dan, and you think of Charlie, and we'll see if Cassie can join that group. All right, a couple more here to go. Next up, we have Cheryl's Spite.
Number 3.
Number 3 for Cheryl's Spite. Obviously, the less tested of anybody here in the field, but hey, it's hard to argue with perfection. This guy could be any kind. He's a perfect 2 for 2 to start his career. This will be his first stakes try on turf. He passed that Tapeta test most recently. I know they had that eye on the Derby or even the Pat Day, but sickness took him out of that equation. Roger Atfield has just about everything on that illustrious resume of his, but unbelievably enough, does not have one of these. We'll see if that changes on the weekend. And if you're doing the math, I guess you can pretty much figure out where value proposition is going to land, but we'll make it official.
Number 7.
Number 7. By the way, Cheryl Spite gets post position number 3 at 8-1. Value proposition travels north of the 49th for the first time for trainer Chad Brown. 3 for 5 lifetime. All starts on grass in New York. This will be the first Canadian start and Grade 1 appearance as Chad looks to win his first Rico Woodbine Mile. So there's a look at the field. March to the Arch, 5-2. Armistice Day, 20-1. Cheryl Spite at 8-1. The mare, Starship Jubilee, 4-1. Olympic Runner, 15-1. Admiralty Pier, 10-1. Value Proposition at 6-1. And War of Will. You see the Klarovich colors there also at 2-1. I should say the 2-1 favorite. All right. So that's it. The field is set. Appreciate the time once again from our racing secretary, Scott Lane, as we have the field of 8 that will contest the Woodbine Mile. Post time is scheduled for 5:39 Eastern. You can catch it from 5 until 6. The broadcast on TSN, courtesy of NBCSN and TVG, our friends in the United States. And looking forward to this race. And of course, a chance to book that spot in the Breeders' Cup Mile. $2 million race that comes your way the first weekend in terms of November at Keeneland. So, we're all set. Mark, let's begin with you. As talked about, you got not 1, not 2, but 3 horses. Begin with War of Will, just because he is the headliner. You get post 8. Maybe just talk about the decision to get this guy onto grass recently. Oh. I'm really good, but I can't read lips. So we're going to get Mark to turn his mic on, and then we'll check back in with him in a second. But yeah, I mean, speaking of War of Will, obviously his big thing career-wise was, being a part of the Triple Crown. So we got your audio back now, Mark. Just want to get your take on how the horse is doing and the decision recently just to get this guy as part of the turf scene.
I was a little worried because you had Klarovich's silks on Gary Barber's.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
I think they changed it.
Yes.
I thought you would catch that, Jason.
You know what? I should have. You're right. That's my bad. You're right.
Yeah, you're a little sharp. I was disappointed in you, I have to admit. So, we started out the year. War of Will was a Grade 1 winner. Obviously, you won the Preakness on the dirt, and our goal was to try to win a Grade 1 on the grass, and he was able to do that in his last start. And so we had to make a decision where if we wanted to stay on the grass or go back to the dirt. We decided to stay on the grass, and the Woodbine Mile's been extremely good to us, and we've won 2 Breeders' Cups off of it, and we're going to try to do it 3 times. So he's training very, very well. I think he's at the top of his game. I like the post position, and so we're excited. I think March the Arch is gonna. I thought his last race was very impressive, and he's going to run well also.
That was a subtle hint, Mark, for the crew. I tried not to, but it's okay. We'll leave that alone. Olympic runner. What about that? He's run really well those last 2 starts. Obviously, Pink Lloyd is a really nice one, but now he gets back to the grass where he's not proven, but maybe talk about your decision to put him in the race.
Well, Gary and I talked about it, and we knew it was coming up a fairly small field, and you know what? Olympic runner's been running really well. As I thought 2 starts ago, with a little better trip, he could have won, and his last race was good, and his turf racing's not so bad. So we're going to give it a try. It's just we didn't have a whole lot of other options, so we're going to give it a try.
How cool would this be? I mean, you've won a lot of races, and obviously you've won this one a couple times, but a chance to join, as talked about, Lepresti, Frankel, as well as Drysdale as the only 3-time winners of this race, and that's some pretty good company.
I'll take it. Yeah, it would be. I was impressed when I heard the list, and to even be mentioned with those gentlemen would be something.
Last question for you. You got 3 in a race. Do you worry about the styles? Do they conflict? I mean, it's obviously works out better if you had a speed, a stalker, and a closer, but maybe just talk about their styles and how do you think they're going to sort of match up once the gate opens on Saturday?
We won't worry too much about that, but I mean, War of Will's pretty fast. If nobody wants to lead, he'll be on it. March Arch definitely is going to sit back, and he comes with a run. And then Olympic runner, he's going from sprints to going a little farther. He's going to probably be eager, and I could see him mid-pack. So I don't think any of them will be getting in each other's way. I would say that, Laura will definitely be up close, if not on the lead.
Okay, well, you know what? Dice K has pulled off an upset or 2, and obviously going back to just a few days ago, with Mighty Heart in the Queen's Plate. He gets the call with Olympic Runner. Maybe that's a surprise element. We're going to find out as we look once again at the Field of 8 coming up on Saturday. I appreciate the time, Mark, not only for doing this part of the draw, but obviously the Stronger Together as well.
Well, thanks for having me.
Okay, sounds good. Mark Casse, Hall of Famer, both sides of the 49th. He's got 3 of the 8 horses. Kevin Attard is still with us, I do believe. And Kev, you and I talked about this just yesterday. I mean, she hasn't faced the boys a ton of times, but, you know, she's done it before. Your thoughts on the post and the makeup of the field?
Yeah, I like the post. Obviously, you know, I mean, coming out of the 4-hole, and she's a very versatile mare. Has speed, can stalk, can close. So, depending on how the race unfolds as they leave the gate, we'll let Justin kind of determine where she needs to be, and it'll be up to him to judge how fast they're going. So, you know, she's obviously hooking the boys is always a little bit of a tougher challenge, but she's going to get a little bit of a weight break as well. And, you know, as Mark alluded to earlier, you know, it's a small field, and that's why we elected to kind of head this way. It wasn't really on the radar earlier. But she's had success at a mile, and it's here in our backyard, and it stopped, you know, it avoids her kind of going on a van and shipping somewhere else, and gives the fans of Ontario a chance to see the reigning horse of the year.
How's she been doing? I mean, obviously that last one was a very tough spot, and it ended a win streak for her. But since you've got a chance to get her back on this side of the border, and you know, just back to familiar surroundings for her, how's she been?
She's doing well. She's trained well. You know, obviously her last race, you know, she was only beaten 4 lengths. There wasn't much change in the from the start of the race to the end of the race, really. So, you know, the 2 riders in front did a good job of slowing the pace down, and I think it hurt our chances to kind of close. But in saying that, you know, probably 2 of the top turf fillies in North America. So no disgrace. She's coming out of a Grade 1, only beaten 4 lengths. So, you know, I think she's still training well. She's eating well. She's coming in the race in good shape. Had a good breeze last weekend on the training track, and you know, she seems to still have that fire in her eye.
Justin get a chance to get aboard her? Because I'm pretty sure ahead of Saturday, this will be his first time riding her, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is his first time. He did breeze her on Saturday, so they have been acquainted a bit. So, you know, I mean, like I said earlier, it's going to be up to him to kind of mop out a good trip for her.
All right, and final question. Obviously, Cassie's got his 3. Chad Brown has 1, but Roger Atfield's horse, I know he's the less tested, or the least tested, I should say, of the horses in the field, but, you know, he's a perfect 2 for 2. And both wins have been eye-popping. Just a quick word on facing Roger's up-and-coming star.
Yeah, definitely. He's been very impressive, you know, to watch so far, and Roger's talked highly of him. So when Roger talks, you better listen. Obviously, you know, I mean, a great trainer, and he's had a lot of good horses in his time, and he seems to kind of rate this one high up there. So I don't discount that horse at all. Obviously, it's you know, I mean, a tall task, but Roger knows what he's doing, and he ain't in there to fill the field. That's for sure.
All right, it's been a lot of fun. Appreciate the time through the Stronger Together, and obviously the post position draw as well, Kev. Best of luck on the weekend, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for having me on. You too, Jason.
All right, so that's it for this edition of Stronger Together / Rico Woodbine Mile Draw Day. And looking forward, Scott Lane, our racing secretary, said double draw today, so a ton of activity for him in the race office. Appreciate him taking the time out to come and do this. Looking forward to the weekend, as talked about, the Summer and Atalma on Sunday. Both of those Breeders' Cup win and you're in races. The same thing goes for the Rico Woodbine Mile. Our thanks as well to CEO of Woodbine Entertainment, Jim Lawson, for joining us, and Hall of Fame trainer Mark Casse, who holds a lot of cards coming up in that 8-horse field. And most importantly, you, for the company over the last hour and change right here from Woodbine Racetrack. Live racing resumes once again tomorrow. Jeff Bratt will guide you through the card. We leave you now with a look at the field of 8 that will contest this year's running of the Rico Woodbine Mile. And thanks again for the company. We'll talk to you again soon.